Everybody, I'm excited. The Oscars are just a couple days away, and as you have seen my reviews, you've read them, you know I saw a lot of movies that came out in 2025. In fact, I saw 192 movies that came out in 2025, which I guarantee is a lot more than most members of the Academy. Um, Now, that doesn't make me an expert in a lot of the technical areas or what I think, what I personally thought of movies, but uh, I really enjoyed a lot of movies. There were a lot of really good movies. I saw so many, and I would love to give you my predictions of what I think is going to win at this year's Academy Awards, as well as what I think should win and what I think should have been nominated. Again, I saw a lot of movies, and in a way, I think the Academy was a little bit lazy this year with um, really five movies dominated all of the nominations. You had Sinners, One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Frankenstein. They got so many nominations. Uh, they weren't There were more than just five great movies this year. So I'd like to spread the love around a little bit more to you know honor the and recognize the movies that I really thought were really good this year. And again, there were a lot of really good movies in 2025. um but I'm going to go through 20 categories. I did not see all of the documentaries. I did not see all of the shorts. I only saw the two documentaries that were nominated for Best Original Song. I stuck with feature films this year. You just have to watch shorts and documentaries in a very different way, which I'm glad they are recognized, but I'm sticking with the 20 categories that are meant for feature films. So, um, if you saw any of these movies, have any thoughts about these categories, please let me know. What were your favorite performances? And this is my second time recording this video. I did it yesterday, and it just did not come together right. Unfortunately, the way I recorded it just wasn't working. So I know I had to do a different setup, on short notice. So I know the camera's a little bit blurrier than usual. Um, but I'm still excited. I want to get these picks out and talk about these movies before the show on Sunday. Um, so please subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Comment. And this is going to be a long video, but don't worry. I'm going to also release some broken up parts of this video. I'm going to break it into 20 different videos with each category. So here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to kick things off with Best Visual Effects. Now, this is probably going to be a runaway, but your nominees are Avatar Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. Um, Avatar Fire and Ash is going to run away with this. Look, the Avatar movies have the most groundbreaking and incredible visual effects there are in any movies, all three of them. Um, it's such groundbreaking work. The Academy loves to reward that. And it's just visually the most beautiful thing you can possibly watch. Now, the other movies, I loved F1. Made no secret about that. And there are some really good visual effects that you don't even notice in that movie. Jurassic World Rebirth, the dinosaurs looked incredible. There was the scene with the boat and the Mosasaurus and Spinosaurus is attacking it, and it just looked great. The dinosaurs really were re-elevated in that movie. The Lost Bus, the fire was good in moments. I do think the fire looked a little sloppy in the beginning. It kind of looked like, USA Network 90s, early 2000s visual effects to me and parts of that. But fire is really difficult to do for visual effects. So I appreciate that it was nominated. I did really like the movie, but the visual effects left me a little bit more to be desired. And Sinners, a lot of that movie, uh, they had a lot of great visual effects. Now, the big one was Michael B. Jordan. He played two characters, and you barely pay attention to the fact that Michael B. Jordan is playing two different people. It because the cinematography and the visual effects were that good. Um, you barely even recognize that Michael B. Jordan is playing two different characters because the visual effects are that good. It's so seamless. And it's that seamless with because really also not only him but the sky. He had to play two different people, so the sky was never the same when he was filming these two scenes. They had to do a lot of visual effects with the sky that you really don't recognize. It comes off so seamlessly, and then obviously the transformations with when people become vampires. There's just some really good visual effects in that movie. The middle scene with the song, some great visual effects there. A lot of the fire was visual effects. Sinners had some good visual effects. With that said, um, I would personally bump out The Lost Bus and F1, which kills me to say because I loved so much of F1. But I think two comic book movies, two superhero movies, which often are nominated in this category. I think Fantastic Four First Steps and Superman both should have been nominated here. The visual effects for those movies were fantastic. Fantastic Four First Steps had a scene where they were flying around a black hole that was just absolutely visually stunning. Galactus walking around New York City, or at least their version of New York City, the car flying, the stretching, the rocks, the flames, like it just was really, really well done visual effects. And Superman had tremendous visual effects. The whole movie was a visual spectacle. So I think Fantastic Four First Steps and Superman probably should have gotten recognized for this. I think maybe the fact that we're people don't love comic book movies as much as they used to. There might be a little bit of fatigue because comic book movies haven't been as great recently. I think that may have played a factor, but again, doesn't matter. Avatar: Fire and Ash would be my pick as well in the Corey Awards, but it's also my prediction to win Best Visual Effects at the Academy Awards. Best Film Editing. Now, I'm not an expert in film editing. However, I was told that if you want to see a film that was greatly edited, then watch it with no sound on. And if you're following the story, then it's very well edited. So the nominees for Best Film Editing are F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Um, Look, F1 is a masterpiece of editing. It's so well put together to make all of these races seem epic in nature. Marty Supreme is another one that it's so chaotic in the middle of this movie, but it's held together with very supremely done editing. One Battle After Another is absolutely tremendously well edited. The first 40 minutes is really a prelude to the movie, and it's really a montage. It's just clips, but it never feels like it's just a montage. There's no real running story in that first 40 minutes. The next two acts are really what kicks off the story, and that's the story it follows. But it doesn't feel that way. Sentimental value. Um, I'll get back to that one. Sinners is very well put together. Again, you have a lot of really well done editing. Um, uh, Given that you have two characters that are played by the same person, so they have to edit these things into very seamlessly, and not make it look like these are two scenes that were put together later. You see that I didn't see any mistakes in that movie, like, oh, well, this person had something in their left hand when they had it in their right hand, and now, the two brothers are both in this scene as they're switching back and forth. It was very well done. It was very seamless, and again, I now you forget that Smoke and Stack are played by the same character. It's that well put together. Now, sentimental value, I really don't understand why it's in this category, nominated for best film editing, because the editing was so noticeable, and that's a bad thing. There were really deliberate cuts to black in between scenes, and that just took me out of the movie pretty much the entire time because it felt like it was different scenes just all put together somehow, some way. And those cuts to black did not work for me. I don't really particularly know why it's nominated for Best Film Editing. I can understand every other one of the movies, but that one, it's a mystery to me. Um, I would bump it, and I would have nominated personally The Long Walk. I thought The Long Walk was incredibly well put together. They used a lot of natural light in that movie. It was done chronologically, which sounds like it makes a lot of sense to do a movie like this that way. And it sounds like it'd be easy, but it was very difficult. Sasha is scratching. Sorry if you hear the noise. Sasha's joining me. Um, and personally, I would have nominated the Lost. Uh, Personally, I would nominate the Long Walk in this category over Sentimental Value because that movie, while it sounds easy that is done chronologically, um, to put a movie together, sometimes you just have to go with what you have, and you can't do things chronologically, especially when you're using a lot of natural light in the sky, and maybe a scene goes wrong and you have to redo it, and now you have to figure out how is the sky going to work because we're at a different part of the day. How are the shadows going to make sense? The Long Walk was a movie about people walking, and it was so captivating because it was stitched together in a tremendously great way with its editing. So, either way, my pick uh, for my prediction for the Academy is One Battle After Another, a real true masterclass of editing. Personally, though, I think F1. And again, I absolutely love F1. I'm probably a homer for F1, you might say, just because I think that movie, it's my favorite movie of the year. But they put together these races so incredibly well, and it was so exciting. The editor for that movie had like 5,000 hours of footage because he had eight different cameras on these cars he was pulling footage from. To be able to make this movie with that much, it is absolutely a tremendous achievement. So personally, I think F1 should take this. I think One Battle After Another is going to get the Academy Award. Best cinematography. Now, it's very possible I don't really know what cinematography means. Um, I did on the John Campea show, I did ask what somebody explained best cinematography because both of those guys have worked in movies. Robert Meyer Burnett, he directed a movie and he's done a lot of production on movies. And how they explained it, best cinematography is how the movie uses the scenery and the filming to move the story along. Now that sounds easier. That sounds simple, but I understand what they mean. It's how can you use the visuals to tell the story? So for best cinematography, your nominees are Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Um, Train Dreams is absolutely a beautiful movie to look at. It is stunning. They did some amazing things in that movie with, they put a camera on a tree as it fell down. They put a camera on the front of a train. It's just visually a gorgeous movie. Um, Sinners, another one. They really, do a lot of storytelling with the fields and the sky and the way this juke joint looks and the town. Like it's so well captured. You really get a sense for where you are. Marty Supreme, they did a lot of cool things where Marty is such an egotistical, arrogant character that everything's kind of a blur at points, and he's just really in focus, and that kind of sells the fact that he is the main character of his own world because everything else is a blur around him. It also sold the chaos because everything was a little bit blurry. Frankenstein, look, I did not like Frankenstein, so I'm not really particularly going to defend it. I also don't know if the cinematography is all that memorable to me. Look, I think a lot of it was the sets and settings and a lot of the technical aspects more than the cinematography, although Guillermo del Toro does really good job of lighting. That's part of cinematography. He does a really good job of different hues popping out. There's Mia Goth has these really bright. There's the one scene where she has this really bright dress and it pops out on screen to kind of get the tone. So there's some cinematography, great cinematography in that movie. My prediction though is going to be one battle after another. That end scene where they're driving and it's that chase and it looks like you're just going through waves, like that built so much tension, just that scene alone. Now, I do need more than 10 minutes of a movie to be great cinematography, but the way they used wide shots and close shots and claustrophobic shots and chaotic shots, there's some really tremendous cinematography that helped show what you're looking at with this movie and just some beautiful scenery. I mean, there's some wide shots when they're in this canyon. It's just beautiful to look at. So it's a fun movie to look at. It's a really good movie to look at. So I think One Battle After Another is going to win the Academy Award. With that said, my pick for best cinematography, I would bump out Frankenstein and I would bump out Marty Supreme personally. I would put Surratt in there. Surratt was the setting was its own character. You're in a harsh Moroccan desert, and it is unforgiving, and they make it feel unforgiving with the way this movie is shot. Now there are some repetitive scenes, like I think I saw the same thing where you have the camera on the road and then it pans up. Like that happened like 3 times. So maybe there were some docked points for that. But when you get the views of these cliffs and these mountains, I mean, you get like a fear of heights from some of these scenes, and there's some panic and anxiety brought on because of the way this movie shot. Personally, though, my pick is F1. This movie is beautiful to look at. There are amazing scenes when they're racing around. There's top down scenes, there's wide scenes, there's great scenes in a nightclub. There are great scenes, when they're driving in the car. I mean, they built cameras into F2 cars for this movie and they shot it from all around. They had GoPros on their helmets, they had GoPros on their chest, they had GoPros on the wheels. They did so much work with the cinematography in this movie, and it is an absolute spectacle to watch. I think it was snubbed. I think F1 should win Best Cinematography. It's not even nominated. Again, maybe I don't really truly understand best cinematography, but visually speaking, I don't think anything came close to F1 this year. And I think it should win best cinematography. But my prediction again is one battle after another. Let's move on to some audio categories. Best sound. Your nominees are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Surratt. Um, I love that Surratt was nominated for this. More than just the music, and the music is incredible in that movie. The sound in this movie is just tremendous. Whether it's the wind whipping, whether it's them breathing, whether it's them panicking, whether it's rocks falling and crumbling, it's explosions, a caravan. Every bit of sound in this movie mattered. I loved the sound. It's almost my personal pick, but I will get to that in just a minute. Surratt was just so impressive, and it was an experience. I'm so glad I got to see it in theater, so I had that big surround sound with it because it's just an absolute amazing movie to listen to. Frankenstein, I'm not, probably not one of my favorite. Again, not my favorite movie, but I don't. You had some, creaks and some big sounds. Personally, not a movie I would nominate for best sound. One Battle After Another, also probably not a movie I would nominate for best sound. And Sinners, great music, but not a movie I think I would nominate for best sound. These were probably the three most over nominated movies there were. Sinners nominated for 16 categories, One Battle After Another nominated for 13, Frankenstein, I believe, nominated for 9. Um, this is probably one that I think they could have done without. They're all impressive in their own right. They all have their own great moments, but for me, um, there are some movies that were really based on sound a lot more, or that utilize sound to express their story a lot more. Um, Avatar: Fire and Ash. Uh, it's visually stunning, but the world is built not only because of the visuals, because of the sounds. You feel like you were in Pandora. The way these animals and the way nature is, the wave sound. It's just absolutely incredible how that movie also sounds. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. There are some really, that might come as a surprise, but there are some big moments that are so tense because of the sound, especially the submarine. When you just hear these creaks and bellows, and you're like, "Oh my God, is this thing going to fall to the bottom of the ocean while he's stuck inside?" Um, it's a really impressive movie when you just listen to it because there's so many big events. The airplanes when he's up in the air. Um, you know, so many different things matter because of the sound. And Warfare. Warfare is incredibly amazing sounding movie. You are in a battle zone. That movie brings you into the battle zone because of what you're hearing. You could hear the bullets whiz by your ear. You could hear the explosions. You could hear what happens when your ears pop because of the explosions. The sound in Warfare, that was one of the most visceral sounding movies of the year. I'm very disappointed it did not get nominated for Best Sound. But both my prediction and my personal pick, it's F1. Look, this is a very exciting movie. Joseph Kosinski, he won Best Sound for Top Gun Maverick because of the way it sounded. He's going to do it again for F1. You are brought into the car because of the way this sounds. It's such a piercing sound when you are when he's in this car and it's riding, and they want you to hear it. Whether you're in the pit crew, whether you're in on the track, whether you're listening to what he's listening to on his headphones. The sound in F1 elevates this movie so much and it makes it so exciting. You're brought into the movie because of the sound. So both my pick and my prediction for best sound is F1. Best score. I've been listening to these scores over and over and over again to try and figure out which ones I really liked, which ones stood out to me. Your nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. Um, Now, Begonia is a very dizzying score. It's really nice. It really captures kind of the chaos of this movie. Hamnet, you have these really powerful string instruments, and it really captures the emotion. One Battle After Another, it has that rhythmic tapping throughout the movie. Um, and it really just paced the movie, and it kind of just made it, it's like it's constantly going because this movie's constantly going. um Frankenstein, I'm gonna be honest, it was a pretty bland score. Again, I did not like Frankenstein. I'm bumping Frankenstein out of here. I'm also bumping Begonia. um I really liked Begonia's score. It was good. I just like two other scores better. um and actually, I lied. I'm bumping Hamnet out as well. Hamnet had a very good score, but I like three scores better than what was nominated. And I'll get to my prediction. Obviously, my prediction is going to be Sinners. That was the last one that I have yet to mention. Sinners' score, Ludwig Göransson has won everything. Great story. He was college roommates with Ryan Coogler. This will be likely his third Academy Award. He's done an incredible job. That music fits so well. The way he got blues uh, going throughout this movie, it perfectly encapsulates this movie. It's amazing to listen to on its own. It just fits so well. Sinners is going to win, um, and it's pretty up there for my opinion for the best score. Although, if you know me, there's one song that I listen to, one score I listen to all the time. But I think One Battle After Another and Sinners should stay. I would personally put Surratt's score in there. I think Surratt's score perfectly encapsulated the tone of that movie. It's deep, it's powerful. It gets it gets very tense, and that movie is tense from start to finish. I really like Superman's score as well. Now, Superman, it is eligible because only 35% of previous scores were used in that, and the rest of it was original. Um, and they did a great job. I mean, we know Superman's score, which is part of it, and it freshened it up. It made it very powerful and friendly and nice. I mean, look, Superman's a movie where you just watched it and you just want to be a better person, and that score perfectly encapsulates that. But my favorite score of the year, I listen to constantly. I will put on a 2 hour loop when I'm working just to hear it and just let it go. It's F1 score. I make no look. I loved F1. I'm not hiding from that. I think that movie. It's my personal favorite movie of the year, and the music was a part of that. It was a huge part of that. And Hans Zimmer is great all the time. He's one of the most accomplished composers there are. This felt like another classic Hans Zimmer score where it's like, "Hey Hans, make a score and we'll make a movie." Um, and it just fits so well. It encapsulated, the excitement at the same time, the seriousness. I thought F1 score was just absolutely incredible. I listen to it all the time. It's not nominated. Sinners is going to win, and it should win. But I really loved F1 score so much. Best original song. Now, there's not a ton of intrigue in this one. The Academy pretty much tipped off that this is out of two songs. The nominees are "Dear Me" from Diane Warren, "Relentless," "Golden" from K-pop Demon Hunters, "I Lied to You" from Sinners, "Sweet Dreams of Joy" from Viva Verde, which is another documentary as well as Diane Warren, um, and "Train Dreams" from Train Dreams. Um, Historically, the Academy has had all five Best Original Songs performed at the Academy Awards. They've cut it down to two. It's Golden and it's I Lied to You. And I really can't imagine they're going to have one of the three other songs that they did not pick performed at the Academy Awards. It just doesn't really make sense. Um, Golden is going to win this. It's probably the biggest lock of the night. Maybe there's one other that is a bigger lock, but it was the biggest song in America for 20 weeks and the biggest song in the world for 18 weeks. It was the song of the year for 2025. And the thing I liked about Golden and I Lied to You both, um, the song mattered in the plot. So many times, the best original song is just some song at the end of the credits that doesn't even play in the movie. It's just going over the credits and like, oh, that's the original song. Um, these mattered. K-pop Demon Hunters was about her figuring out how to sing Golden, and the issues that she was having through that movie that were making her not able to sing that song. I Lied to You was Miles Catton just coming out and saying like I'm one of the best blues players There is, and he stole the show. That is the scene of that entire movie is when he's playing "I Lied to You." So those two are far and above the rest of them, and I think Golden is so much even further above "I Lied to You." I will give "Dear Me" from Diane Warren Relentless credit. I like that song. And I like Train Dreams for what Train Dreams was. It was not maybe my favorite kind of music, but that song really fits that movie so well. And Sweet Dreams of Joy, it's a nice opera song in a documentary about opera. I think it fit well. But personally, I would bump out um, Sweet Dreams of Joy would be the one I would bump out. And come on, I love the score. And the score plays a big part in the song, which was played during the movie. Lose My Mind from F1. I play that song all the time as well as the score. I think it's a great song. Um, I still think I would pick probably Golden to be my personal pick only because um, that is a key part of the movie is the song where Lose My Mind was just a really good song that was playing in the movie, not only about over the end credits. And I will say F1 maybe had a shot to get this nominated, but they decided to go with an Ed Sheeran song instead, Drive, as the one they were pushing to be nominated. And that was the song at the end of the credits. And I guess because it was Ed Sheeran, but it was just such a forgettable pop song. Um, Lose My Mind is just such a better song. I love that song. It's my favorite song on this list. But I think not only is my prediction, but also my pick, and I can't believe I'm saying something over Lose My Mind, but my pick would also be Golden because it plays such an integral part of the movie, and I give it extra points for that. Let's go into some of the design technicals now, and we're going to start off with Best Costume Design. Your nominees are Avatar Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Sinners. I don't really have a ton wrong with any of these, except I will say a lot of people are inspired by Avatar Fire and Ash, and maybe I just don't understand. I don't know why this is eligible. I totally get that somebody has to make these costumes and then they render it and put it into the animation, the VFX. But the costume didn't have to move with the person, and I think that, in my opinion, disqualifies it because let's be honest. Zoe Saldana's character, her shirt is a vine, and it always stays perfectly placed. The loincloths always cover everything, and if these were really moving with the character, Zoe Saldana would have flashed everybody. But it's perfectly placed. She's always covered because the animation calls for that. So I totally respect that somebody had to make these costumes, but the animation made it so somebody, um, you know, had it move perfectly. Um, Sinners, Ruthie Carter, absolute legend. Such a great story about these costumes. These were costumes actually made for a different vampire movie made set in the 1920s, and that was Marvel was supposed to come out with a Blade movie. She made them for that, and then when Blade got scrapped and moved into a modern setting, if that movie ever comes out, she bought the costumes and repurposed them for Sinners, and they are magnificent costumes. They fit the characters and they mean so much for the characters, and everybody looks different, but they all have an impact. So Smoke and Stack, the brothers, they have red and blue, which fits their character types perfectly. Haley Steinfeld's character has a really a dress that really stands out, just as she stands out. Preacher Boy, Miles Catton, he has a really kind of church going attire. Delroy Lindo has great attire. The two the Asian characters, they have great attire. Cornbread, he has the overalls. It just works so perfectly with his character. I think everybody looks spectacular in Sinners. Um, Marty Supreme, they nailed the attire for the 1950s. Hamnet nails the attire for the Shakespearean the era when Shakespeare was living. Frankenstein's going to end up winning this because it's that kind of movie that lends itself to it. Look, there's some flamboyant dresses. Frankenstein's monster's fur coat really looks great. Um, it's the kind of movie in the period that always lends itself to best costume design. Personally, though, um, I didn't particularly care for it. Look, a lot of these movies are just period appropriate attire. Yes, somebody has to go make them, but um, I don't know if it really stood out. I mean, maybe Frankenstein had some dresses that stood out pretty well, but I personally think, yes, Frankenstein deserved the nomination. Uh, so did Sinners. Hamnet and Marty Supreme just a little bit too just period appropriate attire to me. I think The Ugly Stepsister, which is nominated for Best Makeup and Hair, and I'll get to that a little bit more. I think the similar to the hair and makeup, and I'll discuss it, but the the attire and the costumes evolved with this character throughout the movie. Um, she's tortured. It's it's Cinderella told from the perspective of the stepsister is always told she's ugly, and she does everything she can to become beautiful, and her attire changes throughout that. Kokuho also nominated for best hair and makeup, and I like that nomination. But there are some amazing kabuki dresses in this that really pop to a point they made it the feature of these scenes. Like everything's white and gray, and then you have this really bright, vibrant kabuki dress that just really steals the scene because of how vibrant and bright it is. So I think Kokoho should have got it, and Justice for Wicked for Good because I guess the Academy felt that it nominated Wicked for Good, which won Best Costume Design last year. I guess they feel like they nominated that production already last year, so they didn't give it anything this year. We've seen far too many times when a movie was two movies were shot in the same production that both movies got nominated. So I think that's a terrible, you know, it's terrible to ignore Wicked. It should have been nominated. I still personally would give it to Sinners because, like I said, each costume mattered for the character. But my prediction is going to be to win the Oscar. It's going to be Frankenstein. Best makeup and hairstyling. Your nominees: Frankenstein, Coho, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, and The Ugly Stepsister. And The Ugly Stepsister being nominated for this category makes me so happy because the Academy voters had to watch The Ugly Stepsister in order to be able to vote for this category. And this is a movie that is definitely not something they would normally like. It's a Norwegian horror movie, a body horror movie. Um, it is Cinderella from the perspective of the stepsister who's constantly told she's ugly. So she's doing everything she can to become beautiful like Cinderella. And it is crazy. And you know what? A lot of it is successful because of the hair and because of the makeup that really helped transform with the main character. Um, I think it's amazing. I watched that and I immediately was like, this should be nominated for Best Makeup and Hair, which is pretty incredible that was one of my first thoughts of a movie that I liked, which says a lot. So honestly, I'm going to spoil it now. That's my personal pick to win. I'm so happy that The Ugly Stepsister um, is nominated for this, but it's not my prediction to win the Academy Award. The Smashing Machine A lot of people are actually saying, "Oh, well, that's just a movie where one person was transformed." Like, no. Well, Dwayne the Rock Johnson is really transformed, and they do a great job making him look like Mark Kerr. I think people forget that in an MMA movie, you have a lot of bruises and scars and cuts and stitches that all have to look real, and they did a really good job on that. Sinners has some great hair and makeup, especially when Jack O'Connell is starting to become the vampire and he gets those long, pointy fingers with the long fingernails and it looks creepy. There's a lot of blood makeup as well. Um, and the when the bite marks, I mean that's some prosthetics is and even when they transform into the vampires, they look different and it's pretty great. Um, Kokoho, uh, that movie is about kabuki dancers, so they have the fake hair, they have the white makeup on, um, and it really does pop. But there also was a movie that took place over 50 years, and they do a lot of really interesting things with aging makeup. So it's pretty well done. You don't recognize that these are actors of a certain age painted to look older or younger. They look older or younger, and they do a really good job. Now, my prediction to win is going to be Frankenstein. Um, however, uh, I didn't like the makeup on the monster at all. I thought he just looked like a pale blue with some blue lines, dark blue lines on him. Now, maybe it's because I watched this movie on my TV, like they released it intentionally to be watched on TV, and I did not see it in theaters. But I did not see Frankenstein's monster as being like looking like it was mashed together body parts. I just saw The Bride and Christian Bale's Frankenstein's monster look like he was mashed together body parts with all these great scars. But Jacob Elordi's Frankenstein's monster just looked pale blue with some blue lines on it. It's going to win Best Hair and Makeup uh, at the Academy Awards. That's my pick. But I would bump it. I would also um, bump Sinners. I do like the makeup work in Sinners, but again, it's nominated 16 times. It doesn't need to be nominated 16 times. It's probably over nominated, and I would have liked to see Wicked for Good be nominated here. It won last year. It didn't get worse. Justice for Wicked for Good. It deserved the recognition, even if the Academy feels that it nominated it last year for that production. And I'm gonna give another one to Weapons. I'm gonna, horror is a great uh, genre for hair and makeup. Um, and not only was Aunt Gladys fascinating to look at when she was all crazy in her wig and her crazy makeup, but Aunt Gladys without that looked very sick and creepy. The one teacher or the principal, when he comes running down the street and he has the big eyes, and it's like blood. That looked very creepy and crazy and realistic. And then the two parents, when they stabbed themselves with the fork, like they looked drained, like they looked like they had their energy drained, and that was because of the makeup. The kids were pale because they were draining their energy, and this was done with great makeup work. So. I didn't like Weapons at all. I really hated the script for that, but visually the makeup and hairstyling was fantastic for that movie. Still, my pick is The Ugly Stepsister. I just absolutely loved how that was going to be. My prediction though is Frankenstein. Best production design, I think it's clearly going to be Frankenstein that's going to win. They made this grand visual place. Um, again, sometimes I think it looked a little flat to me. Wasn't overly impressed with Frankenstein. It was good. It's going to win this category because it's what Hollywood likes when you make these big sets with the laboratory. the basement, the castle. Like these are great visual places to look at. The other nominees in this category are Hamnet, which they did a great job making. The place where Shakespeare puts on his play. Marty Supreme. I didn't really think about it a ton until somebody explained it. It was like, yeah, they made New York, 1950s New York, which is a really hard thing to do because you can't shoot there. Even the intricacies and the detail of the shoe shop when he was selling shoes in the beginning of the movie, that was great. So much detail in those. One battle after another, a lot of really cool. It just took place in so many different places that there was a lot of production design in that movie. Although for a lot of it, I thought it was just kind of flat, plain walls. It didn't overly impress me. I don't think the sets were what impressed me with one battle after another. Um, Sinners looked really great, and the juke joint was fantastic. It was a vibrant. It was one place, where one battle after another was many places. But Sinners, like where the movie took place, and in the second half of that movie, it was such a huge part, and it brought so much atmosphere to what the movie was trying to express. So I do like the production design for Sinners. But I feel like they could have been a little bit more creative on this one. Personally, I would bump out one battle after another. And Sinners, I think I would leave Marty Supreme over both of those. Again, they were over all the Marty Supreme as well. They were over nominated. I would have liked to have seen Wicked for Good be nominated. It should have been nominated for something. It won for Best Production Design last year. It looks like old school, big time Hollywood set production design, and it didn't get nominated. It just got ignored. But visually, that world is stunning. I think Wicked for Good should have been nominated, and it would be my personal pick. Again, Frankenstein is my prediction. And I think Fantastic Four should have been nominated. Fantastic Four First Steps looked so great, whether they were inside the spaceship, whether they were inside, where they live in the tower, whether it was the city that they created, whether it was underground. There were so many different cool looking places. Um, there was I guess their version of, I forget what it was called, but their version of what um, the United Nations is. Everything looked grand. It was a retro futuristic style to it. It just looked fantastic. It was great to look at, and it was because of the production design. I think this was a spot you could have had the Fantastic Four First Steps. When I think back to all the movies, visually, that was one of the most standout movies I saw of what what it was showing and where these movies took place was Fantastic Four First Steps. Again, Wicked for Good, I think should have been nominated. That's my personal pick. My prediction is Frankenstein. Best casting is a brand new category to the Academy. We've seen it at the Actor Awards or SAG Awards. We've seen it at other award shows, but never before the Academy Awards. Best casting. It's new. So the interesting part of new is we don't really know what the precedent. There's no precedent for it, so we don't really know what they're looking at. The nominees for this are Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and The Secret Agent. Um, and I could see all of these movies being worthy of this category. Um, Hamnet, you have an absolutely incredible performance out of Jesse Buckley. Pedro Mezcal, Emily Watson all play great supporting roles. And Noah and Jacoby Juke, they're fantastic, especially Jacoby. They're so good in this movie, and the cast really brought so much emotion through their performances and made it really, really strong and powerful. Marty Supreme, um, look, Timothy Chalamet is absolutely amazing in this movie, and he has some great people to work with, but They also found some really cool people. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He was great. He's never been in anything before, and I count that as a find. The son and father who were selling the ping pong balls, they found those guys on YouTube, I think, or it was a Instagram reel. They got some local flair from where they were filming it, and they brought in these guys. Odessa Zion really became a household name for her performance in this movie. There were some really great performances, and of course, Gwyneth Paltrow comes out of semi-retirement for this movie, does great. The Secret Agent, there's a lot of really good performances. I didn't love The Secret Agent at all. I really did not enjoy The Secret Agent. It was very bloated. Wagner Moura was incredible, but I feel like that movie was so top heavy. Nobody else really got to shine, even though there are some good scenes with a lot of different characters. The movie was just all over the place. I don't think it really let people shine as much. It was just Wagner Moura was incredible. One battle after another. I mean, I could go on forever about this cast. All around, it's incredible. Everybody does a great job. Even the Christmas Adventurers Club guys, like you see them, you're just like, these guys are terrible. They just nailed the casting on that movie. Um, and my prediction, though, it's Sinners. That cast is so well put together. They really feel like a family that came back together. Everybody seems important. They have such great chemistry with each other. Um, and Jack O'Connell coming in, I never saw him before, and he was absolutely menacing. He was a great villain. Um, the Ku Klux Klan guys, from the beginning. Some's a little, off with those guys, and they're pretty terrible. Just across the board, such great performances, a great cast in Sinners. Um, it's won so many different awards. Everybody played a great part in that movie. That's my personal prediction. Now, in terms of best casting, I think I would bump out Marty Supreme and The Secret Agent. And the reason I would do that is because Marty Supreme's the tougher one to bump out. But again, both of those movies were so top heavy with an incredible all time performance out of the lead. And then nobody else really came close to the level of that lead, where with one battle after another, Sinners and Hamnet, these are really much better, um, ensemble performances, and everybody really got to stand out. Now, when the nominees were first put out, I went on a rant about how was Sentimental Value not nominated? They are not one of the movies I placed back in because I learned a little bit more about this category. This category is meant for the casting director, not for the movie. So the specific casting director. And Sentimental Value was written for Renata Reinsve, and the director, as he was writing The Father, had Stellan Skarsgård in mind, and he got Stellan Skarsgård on board. So the director himself played a big part in getting the two top stars of that movie. So I understand why Sentimental Value was not nominated for Best Casting, despite having four individual acting noms. But the movies that I would put in over Marty Supreme and The Secret Agent are The Long Walk, which had such an incredible ensemble cast. You know, David Johnson was a real standout to me. Um, Hoffman was great. Ben Wong was great. Every one of those kids in that movie had their own character, had their own identity, and then you have, you just it came together so well, and you cared about everybody. You had thoughts about everybody. Um, so the Long Walk was just a very well cast movie, and the performances were spectacular. And I think Superman deserves some recognition in this for that was masterfully cast, that movie. That was such a well cast movie. They had to cast Superman, and maybe that's unfair to give that a credit because they cast a great Superman, and we have seen Superman forever. You know, going way back in the comics, whether it's TV, whether it's other movies, we all have a vision of Superman. David Cornswell was incredible as Superman. Rachel Brosnahan was incredible as Lois Lane. That whole movie, Nicholas Holt, Guy Gardner, Isabella Merced, everybody was great in that movie across the board. As a spectacularly cast movie, they were perfect on casting. Um, so you know what? Actually, as I'm recording this, my prediction is Sinners. My personal best cast is Superman. I would pick Superman to be the best casting of the year. Um, but of course, Sinners is going to win. Best Supporting Actress. Now, this is an interesting category because it's really up in the air. Um, Nobody's run away with any of the awards. Tiana Taylor was the early favorite for her performance in One Battle After Another, and she won the Golden Globe. Um, Amy Madigan then won the Critics' Choice Award in Weapons. Wumi Masako won the BAFTA in Sinners. Now, perhaps that's because she is British and the BAFTA wanted to support her. And then you have Elle Fanning, who I was very happy snuck in because Elle Fanning was fantastic in Sentimental Value. And Inga Ibsdottir Lilius, also from Sentimental Value, was tremendous. She was really the glue of that movie. With as many great performances as it is, that movie doesn't mean what it does without her. And Elle Fanning's character, again, she just goes on such a great journey because she's so bubbly, energetic, enthusiastic, and then she gets this job of this role. It just breaks her down, and you just follow, you see it from her. Um, but in my opinion, even though I really liked Inga Ibsdottir Lilius, this is out of three people, and at this moment, look, if Wumi Masako wins this, this is a massive night for Sinners. Might break the record for most Academy Awards, but I think it's got to be Amy Madigan. Out of these performances that are nominated, Amy Madigan was so great in Weapons. She was truly nobody even recognized her, and she was so great that they are going to make an Aunt Gladys prequel because everybody loves Aunt Gladys. Um, and she was just great, and she played a very sinister role. She played a very flamboyant role. Um, it was just it took over the entire part of that movie. Now I did not like Weapons, but I loved watching Aunt Gladys, and I thought she was a great villain. Um, Hi Sasha, how are you? Um, Tiana Taylor is the one that I really just didn't care for. She was good in One Battle After Another, but her character was really written in a way that I think anybody could have, done that. I mean, look, everybody loves like, oh my God, look at her, and it was when the scene where she's pregnant shooting the machine gun, and I'm like, okay, um, probably would have been exciting no matter who did it. Now, I'm not saying Tiana Taylor did a bad job. A great character also has to be written well, not just performed well. Um, but and I know that somebody doesn't need to be on screen forever to uh, get a nomination. There have been actresses with 12 minutes of screen time that won Academy Awards. Um, but she was in it for the very first act, and then she was gone from when the story really kicked off. She was in it for this montage in the beginning that was a prelude to the movie, and then she was gone. And I don't think that she had the weight of the rest of the movie weighing on her character. Now, her character had a big part in why things played out, but I don't think I would have nominated her, and sadly, I don't think I would have nominated Elle Fanning, even though I really liked that performance. And I don't know if I would have nominated Wumi Masaku. I think I would keep Inga Ibsdottir Lilius because she was the glue of sentimental value, and I would keep Amy Madigan. But I would nominate Haley Steinfeld for Sinners. I thought her character more than stood out way more than Wumi Masaku. And Amanda Seyfried was remarkable in The Housemaid. She had such a range, in that one performance from this very nice, sweet, bubbly, fun person to this total maniac. And she just did that movie so well. She's such a great actress, and her performance really made that movie so enjoyable for me. I'm not the typical demographic for a movie like The Housemaid, and I love that movie. I thought it was very well done, and Amanda Seyfried was a huge part of it. But I have said since the moment I saw the movie, one of the most impactful performances I've ever seen, and the best performance and most impactful performance I saw all year was Rita Zohar in Eleanor the Great as Bessie. Rita Zohar plays a Holocaust survivor, and she herself was born in a concentration camp. And Scarlett Johansson, this is her first movie, and there are some mistakes in this movie, but one giant success was her knowing to put the camera on Rita Zohar for the last 10 minutes of the movie and letting her just make you cry so hard as she told this story about how she escaped the concentration camp. And it's absolutely beautiful, it's powerful, it's sobering. It was such a great moment throughout the movie, not just the final 10 minutes, but every time Rita Zohar was on camera, I couldn't, I had to pay attention because I knew something amazing was going to happen. Um, if for no other reason to see Eleanor the Great, watch it for Rita Zohar. Her performance is incredible. I loved it. And she would be my personal pick for Best Supporting Actress, while Amy Madigan is my prediction to win the Academy Award. Best Supporting Actor. This is a really interesting race, and it could go any which direction. I would not be surprised. This is probably one of the tightest, most unpredictable races in the entire Academy. You have Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. You have Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. Um, I could see Delroy Lindo, Stellan Skarsgård, or Sean Penn winning. I think people really like Benicio del Toro, and people really like Jacob Elordi. Uh, Benicio del Toro was just such a fun character to like, you know. Just a couple small beers, and he was just he brought so much comedy to a crazy situation, just because he was just playing it very soft. He didn't try to be flamboyant. Um, but he did such a good job, and I think part of it is people liked his character, and it was an easy performance. Um, you know, in that movie to like. Sean Penn was just he stole the show. Um, and when I got out of that movie, when I went into that movie, I'm like, oh man, Delroy Lindo was so good in Sinners. I hope he wins the Academy Award. As soon as I left, I'm like, dang it, Delroy ain't gonna win because Sean Penn's gonna win. Now, Delroy Lindo has a lot of momentum on his side. And I think the BAFTA controversy when voting happened and him being the guy to give the award then at the Actor Awards, Delroy has really had an opportunity to shine. People like Delroy Lindo. He's had an incredible career. And again, his performance in Sinners was so amazing. When he is right down the road, he's telling the story about how those guys were killed. Um, when he is, performing at the train station, when he is at the juke joint, Delroy Lindo is just masterful and spectacular in that movie, 1,000%. I love that performance. But man, Sean Penn, just the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he, you know, made these quirky movements with his mouth, the way he combed his hair, um, everything was so ridiculous in the best possible way to make Lockjaw just this amazing villain in this movie. Sean Penn was so great, and now he has a lot of momentum. He just won the BAFTA and he won the actor award, the SAG award, back to back. And Sean Penn is really starting to, I think, get a lot of momentum. Um, and the BAFTA and the actor award do have a lot of overlap with the Academy. And if those people, it's not overwhelming, but it is a large portion. If they're voting for Sean Penn, I think he has a lot of reason to think that he could win. Stellan Skarsgård was definitely the early favorite. He's great in Sentimental Value. Now, Sentimental Value is not a movie that I particularly loved. Um, the story is, it's emotional. He does a great job playing this complex character who kind of knows that he screwed up in his past and he's trying to repair the relationship. But at the same time, he's trying to repair the relationship for a selfish reason because he wants to make this movie. So you get this flawed character out of Stellan Skarsgård. Um, the director Joaquin Trier wrote this movie with Stellan Skarsgård in mind for this role, and personally went out to go cast him for this role. And he does a great job. And the Academy loves a career narrative. And Stellan Skarsgård, similar to Delroy Lindo, have had decades of great performances, and neither one of them have ever been nominated for an Academy Award. They're both nominated now. And they both have a shot to win because of the career narrative. At the same time, I still think Sean Penn's going to win his third Academy Award, even though nobody actually likes Sean Penn. Um, his performance, all three of those performances are great. Jacob Elordi, a lot of people loved him as Frankenstein's monster. Again, he was good. I didn't love Frankenstein. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think Jacob Elordi was great. He was good. I don't think he was great. A lot of people are more interested in that one than me. Personally, I would bump Benicio del Toro and Jacob Elordi, and I would nominate David Johnson from The Long Walk and Russell Crowe for Nuremberg. Um, David Johnson was so great in The Long Walk. He was. It was hard not to love him, and as this movie's going on, you have your main character, and you want him to survive because look, The Long Walk is everybody dies until the last person doesn't stop walking. And David Johnson, you have your main character that you do not want to get killed, and then David Johnson is like, oh my god, I want this guy to live so much. Please, for the love of God, don't die. You just fall in love with this character because he does so well. He has this great accent. He just puts in an incredible performance. And then Russell Crowe plays a despicable human. He plays the ranking Nazi officer after Hitler killed himself, and he's on trial at the Nuremberg trials. And it is pure manipulation and a battle of wits against Rami Malek's. He's a psychiatrist, and Russell Crowe just does such an amazing job manipulating uh, and getting everybody to eat out of the palm of his hands. I mean, look, there's a reason he was a supreme leader, in that high in command, and because he had Germany just believing whatever he said. And Russell Crowe put together an incredible performance. Um, trying his best to showcase this to the an American audience who definitely knows he was 1,000% in the wrong. to the American lawyers who have him on trial at the Nuremberg trials. Um, it's just a great performance out of Russell Crowe. Uh, he got didn't get nominated. Really didn't get a lot of publicity for his role, but he did great in Nuremberg. Either way, my prediction is Sean Penn. Um, and my personal pick is Sean Penn. As much as I love Delroy Lindo, I would love it so much if Delroy Lindo won. When I left one battle after another, I said, dang it, Delroy is not winning. Sean Penn was that great. This performance was that great. I personally just have to give it to Sean Penn. He was just so great as Lockjaw. Everything he did was incredible. He was captivating that entire movie. He stole the show. Sean Penn, my prediction and my personal pick. Best actress. This could be a short segment. Your nominees that are not going to win are Emma Stone in Begonia, Renata Reinsva in Sentimental Value, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue, and Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. They were all great. But Jessie Buckley from Hamnet is going to run away with this award. She's won every award. She swept the award season. Her performance and the emotion she put out in Hamnet was incredible. I didn't even like Hamnet, and I know Jessie Buckley was absolutely fantastic in this movie. I'll be honest, I also did not like If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and Rose Byrne was remarkable in that movie. I said out of there, I was like, she has a real shot at being uh, a contender for Best Actress for that performance. She was incredible from start to finish, just exhausted and getting more exhausted and overwhelmed, and the portrayal of all of that was great. Renata Reinsva, she was really just spectacular in sentimental value. You could see the emotion she had. This is such a um, deep year for Best Actress performances. When Emma Stone is the fourth person I've mentioned, breaking down these, and she was just incredible in Begonia. Jesse Plemons was also great, and that's why Emma Stone stands out because it's two spectacular leads going at it, exchanging their wits, just bantering. It's remarkable. And I was really happy that Kate Hudson got nominated for Best Actress because she was really good in Song Sung Blue. I think a lot of people are not don't love that one because a lot of people are saying that she'd be ranked 20th out of all of the acting nominations. But Kate Hudson was really good in Song Sung Blue. She has so much energy, and then this event happens, and the character totally changes, and then something else happens and she has to change her character. Her character goes through such ups and downs. It was really great to see a whole range, uh, you know, from her. With all that said, I have to bump somebody because Chase Infinity deserved to be nominated for One Battle After Another. She's only 17, and she was incredible in that. And I really noticed it upon my rewatch. Her holding back tears while remaining standing there strong and stoic was so impressive to watch. She was great in this movie, um, you know, portraying a girl going through a horrific, traumatic situation, but knowing that she has to try and survive. It was not an easy role for Chase Infinity, and she did it incredibly well. I think I would have to bump out of the five. Um, I would have to bump out Renata Reinsva, even though I know she was great in Sentimental Value. I don't know if she stood out to me as much as Chase Infinity. Now, she probably didn't have as grand of a role to play as many of the other ones because Sentimental Value was just that kind of movie that it didn't really lend for grand performances. But Chase Infinity deserves to be in there. And I would bump out Renata Reinsva because Chase Affinity was just great. But either which way, My pick and my prediction are both Jessie Buckley. She was great. Best actor. This is a loaded field. Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. Absolutely an incredible field. It's really hard to pick something bad to say about any of these performances. Timothy Chalamet is so energetic. Um, he has such an arrogance to him in Marty Supreme. He's so energetic. It's nonstop, and it's really captivating to watch him just go crazy in this movie nonstop. It's like he did. Ethan Hawke spoke for an hour and 40 minutes in a dialogue heavy movie in Blue Moon, and it was just remarkable to watch. He never lets anybody get a word in. It was great. Um, Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent, just a truly tremendous performance. Again, I did not really like The Secret Agent as a movie, but Wagner Moura was great in every scene he played. The worry he put, the concern he put forward, the determination, just the demand to survive. Um, Everything he did in this movie was just spectacular. Um, and Leonardo DiCaprio, for One Battle After Another, he was great. He was such a fun role. But at the end of the day, even as a burned out stoner, he was a father trying to save his daughter, and he managed to put both of these together. He had some amazingly hilarious lines in this movie. He was so fun to watch. There was so much great energy that was mixed matched with just a chaotic nature to the movie and the situation. Leonardo DiCaprio was great. And then Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. I mean, look, he played really three roles. He played Smoke and Stack, and then he played pre and post vampire for the one brother. And you didn't even really you forget that it was the same guy playing multiple roles. It was that seamless that you just felt like he was just there were two of him. It was incredible to watch. And both characters, they're all different. The one brother is really cool and calm, and he's level headed. The other one is, fiery and, he's a little bit more, more angry. And then there's again the pre and post vampire where it gets a little darker and creepier. Um, it's a tremendous performance out of Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, and that's why this is a tough one. I think Michael B. Jordan has all the momentum right now. He just won the actor award. Um, Timothy Chalamet was the very early favorite, and he just hasn't won. He just people haven't been voting for him. He won the Globe. He's really put forward a huge. He's demanding this Oscar, and I think maybe that's rubbed some people the wrong way, because he's coming out and saying, "Oh, it's my year to finally win the Oscar," and they're like, "No, we decide if you win the Oscar." But it is the actors is the largest portion in this award being given out, the largest voting block, and he has a great performance in Marty Supreme. Even though, again, I liked Marty Supreme, I didn't love it, but he's incredible in this movie. I wouldn't be mad at any of these people winning, but I have to pick Michael B. Jordan over Timothy Chalamet. I think Michael B. Jordan has all the momentum right now. He just won at the Actors Award. He had a massive applause while voting is still going on for the Academy. I think that's a moment. So I loved Michael B. Jordan. He is also my personal pick to win, as well as my prediction. I will say I'm personally going to bump out, even though, again, Wagner Moura was incredible in The Secret Agent, um, and Leonardo DiCaprio was incredible in One Battle After Another. I'm bumping both of them out because there's two performances I like better. And with Leo, um, I feel like I've seen so many other better performances out of him that he hasn't even won an Oscar for. Now, granted, he probably should have. I don't think this is a top five performance out of Leonardo DiCaprio. Maybe that's an unfair standard because he is great in it, but um, it's not the greatest performance I've seen from him. I've seen much better, and I think these two actors deserve the nomination. At least deserve some recognition. And sorry, one of them's not Jesse Plemons. That's how deep this is. I had two people over Jesse Plemons, who was remarkable in Begonia. I think Lee Byung Hun and No Other Choice should have been nominated over Wagner Moura. When I look at the two international performances, Lee Byung Hun was incredible, and yes, Wagner Moura was great in The Secret Agent. Lee Byung Hun, he makes you cry, he makes you laugh hysterically, he makes you worried, um, relieved. Like he goes through so much in this movie. It's incredible. It's hilarious. It's sad. It's emotional. It's deep. And Lee Byung Hun just does a great job. His facial expressions, the way he gasps, the way he moves, the way he runs, the way he's running away from people, the situations puts himself in. It's just great. Lee Byung Hun did great in No Other Choice. No Other Choice was not nominated for anything, and it should definitely have been. And I think this is one of the spots that it really could have had, a nomination. And the last one is going to catch people by surprise. Liam Neeson in The Naked Gun. Now, it is hard to pick comedic performances over dramatic performances. Uh, and that's an Academy problem. But I know great perform. I mean, I saw a great performance from Liam Neeson. He had one of the best performances of the year. To deliver deadpan comedy the way he did, the timing was so great. And he had some running gags when he's like throwing the coffee. Like that could have gotten old. And it never did. It was hilarious from the first time he did it to the second time he did it because the way he did it, the deadpan, straight faced jokes, slapstick humor, um, some really just like goofy, can I take a chair, kind of humor. And then they walk out with a chair, like that stuff could be corny, and it never was, especially out of Liam Neeson. He did such a great job putting together an incredibly hilarious comedic performance as the lead actor and made you care about the plot too. You were rooting for him to succeed and figure out what was going on. Liam Neeson in The Naked Gun, just absolutely spectacular. I loved it, and he deserved a nomination. But again, my pick and my personal pick and my prediction, both Michael B. Jordan from Sinners. I would love to see him win, and this is going to be. I wouldn't be upset with anybody winning, but I really would love to see it be Michael B. Jordan. He was spectacular in Sinners. I love that role. I love that performance. Best international feature is a category that I was really excited about this year. Maybe a little bit more before I saw all the movies. I'll get to that in just a minute. But this was a category that I was hearing all year could legitimately have four or five movies nominated for Best Picture. That was never going to happen because then once a film won for Best International Film, they're not going to wipe out half of the films that were nominated for Best Picture because you're not going to have something win Best International Film and then be beaten by another movie that was nominated in the same category. But that also makes me believe that this is a two movie race, given that two of these movies were nominated for Best Picture. So your nominees are It Was Just an Accident, which is a French film, Sentimental Value, which is Norwegian, Surat, which is Spanish, the Secret Agent, which is Brazilian, and The Voice of Hind Rajab, which is Palestine's nominee. Um, I really liked It Was Just an Accident. and I really liked Surat. I was okay with with sentimental value. Uh, the voice of Henry Job was fine, and I did not like the Secret Agent at all, which is the one that won the Golden Globes. And it's one of the two nominated for Best Picture. I thought that movie was a bloated mess. Um, not my thing. Sentimental value also just not my speed. Um, it's one of those movies is like you could tell it's a good movie, but why would anybody really want to watch this? Because there's nothing fun about it. There's nothing really that enjoyable. It's kind of just miserable. Same thing with, I mean, the voice of Hind Rajab I felt was a little bit emotionally manipulative because they use the real recording of a 9, 6, 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl who was caught in a war zone and called basically their version of 911. Um, of course you're going to cry when you hear this girl uh, talking. The rest of the characters are actors, but that just felt a little bit icky to me that they're using this real voice of this real girl who is stuck in this war zone trying to survive. Um, you know, and that's what they used. It felt like it would have been a better documentary. But even though it's not nominated for Best Picture, given world events, I could see that, or it was just an accident, sneaking and taking the win here because of current world events, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Iran. Um, I really liked It Was Just an Accident too. That would be of these nominees. That's my favorite international film that I saw last year. Um, I think it was just a very emotionally personal story to Jafar Panahi, the director, who was thrown in jail for criticizing the Iranian regime. Um, and this movie was made in secret. There's an incredible story about it. Um, and the actors, they were not trained professional actors, but Jafar Panahi did a great job directing it. I'll get more into that later. Um, Surat was the last movie I saw of this death race, and my God, that was unapologetically how much can we traumatize you? Um, and it was really, really well done. I did hate the ending of that movie, but otherwise, up until that, I'm thinking about that movie constantly, which says a lot, even though I didn't love the ending. So the two movies that are nominated for Best Picture out of this category are Sentimental Value and The Secret Agent. And I think Sentimental Value is just the Academy Awards kind of melodrama movie that they love. Um, I'm picking that as my prediction to win the Academy Award. Um, but I think no other choice should have won. It should have been nominated at the very least. That movie is my favorite international movie of the year. It was a top 10 movie for me. It was so funny. It was so tragic. It was so emotional. I went through the range. It's such an incredible, insane story and journey for this main character off a very crazy premise. Look, a guy gets laid off from a paper factory and he's trying to find work. I mean, the other part of that is he ends up going to kill all the people that thinks are his competition for that work. But just an insane concept. But it was so fun and funny and engaging. I thought it was a tremendously well done movie. So that's my pick for best international feature. Um, I also would have nominated Nouvelle Vague, which was a French movie. So I don't know if it was just an accident and Nouvelle Vague are both eligible at the same time because they're both French. But Nouvelle Vague was a real big surprise for me. I did not think I would like it, and I really enjoyed it. It was very captivating about the making of the movie Breathless. So it was an insider showing of filmmaking. It was a movie about filmmaking, and it was done very well. And I spoke about The Ugly Stepsister a lot in Best Hair and Makeup and Best Costume Design. I thought it was a delightful movie. I loved it. It was such an interesting story, and it was so well done. It was mesmerizing. I think The Ugly Stepsister deserved a nomination. So, if you're keeping score, I bumped out both Sentimental Value and The Secret Agent, the two movies that were nominated for Best Picture. I didn't even nominate them for Best International Film. And I put Nouvelle Vague and The Ugly Stepsister in, kept in Surat. It was just an accident and no other choice. No other choice is my personal favorite international film, but my pick prediction to win the Academy Award is Sentimental Value. Best animated feature. I love animated movies, and I am very sad because this was a very weak year for animated movies. I mean, Arco, Elio, and Little Amelie or the character of Rain. I didn't like it all. I mean, Elio was fine, but it's a very mediocre at best Pixar movie. It's very forgettable. It's not particularly enjoyable. It's not something I'm going to remember. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. Arco, I thought was just way too simple that I never once cared about anything. And Little Amelie or the character of Rain was way too complicated and weird for me to ever engage with it and care about it. So really, we have Zootopia 2, which was very good. Not as good as Zootopia, but very good. And K-pop Demon Hunters, which is the biggest runaway maybe of this entire thing. It's a cultural smash. It was a zeitgeist movie. Um, it mattered. Everybody loves it. It's a cultural phenom. Great music, and look, it's called K-pop Demon Hunters. This movie somehow, some way, managed to become an absolute craze worldwide. It's fantastic. It's running away with Best Animated Feature. Now, again, it's not the best year for animated movies. I do have three replacements. I would take out Arco, Elio, and Little Amelie or the character of Rain. I would nominate The Bad Guys 2, which I thought was a very fun follow up to The Bad Guys. I would nominate Neja 2, which was I thought that movie was amazing. And the fact is, somebody forgot to submit paperwork to the Academy to have this movie be eligible for a nomination. And that is an absolute travesty. Neja 2 was a tremendous follow up to Neja. It has such a great mythological story to it that it's based in. It is a visual spectacle. It's stunning to look at. There are some things in this animation that I've never seen anywhere else. It's so grand and epic. Neja 2 was absolutely incredible. Um, I think I liked it the most out of any of the animated features this year. And you know what? That is my personal pick to win Best Animated Feature. My prediction again, K-pop Demon Hunters. My personal pick is Neja 2. So the final one I would have nominated, I've already said Neja 2 is my personal pick, but Predator Killer of Killers was fantastic. That came out early in the year. It's a anthology type movie, so there's three different things that happen. They do all get tied together at the end. Um, Visually just beautiful, beautiful movie. The kills in this movie, look, it was a gory animated adult predator movie with awesome kills, awesome action, and it was so engaging. I don't particularly like anthology chapter movies, and I love this. It was great. It knew how to do it, and it made each story feel like its own thing. They all took place in a different time period. They all felt different. They all looked different. And it was just very well done animation. It looked dangerous. It was violent. It gave me everything I wanted. Predator of Killer of Killers. Not your typical Oscar movie, but I thought it was definitely better than a lot of these other animated features. And still, though, again, my prediction to win the Academy Award, easy pick, K-pop Demon Hunters. My personal favorite animated movie of the entire year was Neja 2. Best adapted screenplay. There's some really interesting movies in here. Yeah, Begonia, which was just absolutely insane. It was based on a Japanese movie or a Korean movie that I'm very interested to go see. Um, Hamnet, which again, not my favorite movie of the year. Very popular book, and some people who love the book did. A lot of people I know who love the book love this movie. One Battle After Another, a loose adaptation of Vineland, a movie that was written 40, 50 years ago and is still as relevant today as ever. Train Dreams, a beautiful movie. And Frankenstein, which I will say I thought was a horrendous adaptation. I love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and this movie took away all of the beauty of that movie and told us exactly what we were supposed to think and feel like we were children. That's the main reason I did not like Frankenstein. It took away all of the gray area and all of the things I had to think about when reading Frankenstein. So again, I don't like Frankenstein. I thought it was a terrible movie. Um, so I absolutely am throwing that out, and I'm going to nominate something else. But I'm also going to nominate something else over Hamnet just because I didn't love the movie. It's very emotional, emotionally manipulative. Look, you know what you're getting into. Um, I didn't love it. Uh, Begonia, very interesting. One battle after another, very relevant. Train Dreams, beautiful story about an existential view of a guy who really helped build America at the turn of the century, and was wondering was it all worth it to do that to provide for his family, but he really lost his family through it all because he never saw them. And then things happened. Really, just kind of a crazy movie. I would have nominated No Other Choice. I thought No Other Choice was a fantastically fun time. And The Long Walk. The Long Walk, that is one battle after another, is taking the Academy Award. It's pretty clear it's taken all of the best adapted screenplay awards there are. But The Long Walk to me is my personal pick. This is a Stephen King novel. It was his first one written under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. And he always said this is a book that can never be turned into a movie because it is people walking. And they made a movie of people walking for 2 hours. And it was captivating. To be able to take that book, that so many Stephen King books have been turned into other works, TV shows, or movies, and it took forever for this one to get turned into a screenplay. That's how hard it was, and to make a movie that fantastic just shows how good of a screen adapted screenplay that was. It succeeded because of the screenplay. They made some great choices at the end and throughout to really to change and adapt to make this a great movie. I think it was very successful. The Long Walk is my personal pick for best adapted screenplay. Best original screenplay. We have Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Um, Sinners is running away with this one. Just as One Battle After Another is running away with adapted screenplay, Sinners has been winning original screenplay everywhere it goes. That's why these are the two best, most nominated movies of the year. They're the two big, potentials for best picture. Sinners just has such an incredible, amazing, original concept. To make a movie about uh, racial issues in the 1920s, Delta, Mississippi, based around music and using vampires as kind of as part of that to show the racial issues. It was pretty spectacular. It's so original. It's so great. It's such a great story. It's just an adventure. Sentimental value again, based on emotion. This was a very methodical screenplay. About a father who is a director who kind of was a not the best father, but now he wants to kind of salvage his relationship with his daughter, um, maybe for a selfish reason, but it explores this in a very beautiful way. Marty Supreme, look, it made it's I maybe didn't love the middle of Marty Supreme. I loved the first act and the third act and the overall story. Look, Marty Supreme made table tennis out to be the best sport there is. It felt like it when I was watching that. And I was very excited about the table tennis scenes. So when you were able to succeed in that, well done. It was just an accident. Was clearly a very personal, incredible story from Jafar Panahi. He has been thrown in jail for criticizing the Iranian regime, and then to have this really crazy movie about somebody who kidnapped somebody he believes is was his captor, and tortured him for speaking out against the regime. But he's not sure, so he's trying to figure it out. It's really funny. At the same time, it's tragic and harrowing. Um, so really great screenplay there. Blue Moon, that script was incredible. Again, there's not much that happens in this movie. It takes place at a bar. Most of the time, people are sitting. It's 2 hours of talking, and it's engaging from beginning to end, and it's captivating. Um, that's just a very well done script. Now, with all of that said, again, I'm picking Sinners to win. I think Best Original Screenplay is a great place that you can have some comedy really thrown in here. Um, I would keep Sinners, and it was just an accident in the nominations. But I would have three different ones. I would have nominated Eternity. That is one of my favorite movies of 2025. I loved Eternity. What a creative concept of when you die, you go to eternity and you can spend your eternity however you want, with whoever you want. And now you have Elizabeth Olsen is reunited with her husband of 60 years and her first husband who died in the war. And now she has the impossible decision of who to spend eternity with, how to spend eternity, and the cast is great in that movie, but truly, that is such a fun, great concept and screenplay. I loved it. I thought it should have been nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Good Fortune as well is another comedy. Good Fortune really, um, it took a something. Look, we've seen the body swaps, and the lifestyle changes. We've seen these movies before. This had a nice spin to it with kind of the budget guardian angel, and then the poor guy not wanting to switch back, and who thought he ever would have, and it was just well done and well written. It gave us enough of a twist on a very familiar concept that it was very fun, um, and it stood out from the rest of them. And this is probably my last one that I would nominate. Probably a movie that nobody has really watched or heard of, a Sketch. I thought Sketch was delightful. It was an Angel Studios film, distributed film. It is about a movie about a girl whose sketchbook. She draws all these monsters in a sketchbook, falls into a magic lake, and then all the monsters become real, and they look like the animated monsters. They all become real, and they terrorize the town. And it's fun. You have kids running around with squirt guns and helmets and football pads as their armor. And at the same time, this movie is beautifully about grief and loss and how and trauma and dealing with grief and loss and trauma. And family, it's just absolutely a beautiful movie with a very fun kind of concept and dynamic to it. I think Sketch was tremendously well written. Great movie that people should go see or should go watch if you missed it in theaters over the summer. Um, I think those would be my additions. But either which way, Sinners is going to win, and it's also my pick to win. Best Director. Your nominees are Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joaquin Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Um, I, I would not be. Let me start off by saying um, I did not really particularly like the directing of Marty Supreme. Um, I thought the movie was far too chaotic in the middle. I did not particularly like the directing of Sentimental Value either. Um, I thought it there was some poor editing, but also the directing. Um, Look, I see why both of those were nominated. Uh, it's just Sentimental Value just didn't hit for me. I don't think it made it It's a relatable story. I don't think it made it enough to get people to want to see that movie other than, hey, here's a an emotionally, charged movie. Come be sad for 2 hours. Some people like that, but I think it could have done a little bit, more there. Um, Paul Thomas Anderson and Ryan Coogler are the two main people uh, for this, and you could see if one of these movies starts really sweeping the awards, then you know where this is going to go. Um, I could see a world where they split so much that Chloe Zhao for Hamnet steals it. I don't think that's a possibility too much, but it could happen, and I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I could see a world where that does. But really, again, Paul Thomas Anderson and Ryan Coogler, this is their fight. And I think Paul Thomas Anderson has a significant head start. He is such an amazing director who's never won an Academy Award. Um, and he's probably overdue for Best Director. He is that one. This has been the elusive the director where it's been elusive for him. We've seen it with Scorsese. We've seen it, with Nolan. There are times that people are just due, and this is his magnum opus. This is a tremendous movie, one battle after another, and it really thrives on the direction. It was so well directed, as was Sinners. I mean, again, I'm not counting out Ryan Coogler. He was incredible. He did a great job with Sinners. Um, in a way, it's a coin flip with a significantly weighted side just based on Paul Thomas Anderson has won so many awards this award season. Ryan Coogler has not. And I think just given the success that Paul Thomas Anderson has had, I have to pick him for one battle after another for best director this year. But those would be my two that I would personally nominate. I think I would also nominate Joseph Kosinski for F1. I just think F1 was a tremendously well done movie. And a lot of it had to do with its direction. Like, look, there were some crazy, things that had to happen for that movie where they are literally at F1 races and they are getting these shots done very fast, you know, because something else is happening. They're at actual races to get the crowd, but they aren't making the timeline. He had to work this timeline of what F1 was doing into his shooting timeline. Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident. Again, very emotional movie, probably very based on his experiences. But the cast of that movie was pretty novice. They were not really professional actors, but he really, in his direction of that movie, I think really helped make this special because Jafar Panahi, maybe somebody would not let these, actors who don't have a lot of experience stay on screen too long, and then you make all these cuts. You know what? He just let them work. He just let people. He let the emotion build from their scenes, and they got there. Every one of them got there. I also would nominate Francis Lawrence for a long walk. Long walk. Again, a movie about walking, and it was so captivating, and it was so well done, and the way they shot this, and they switched cameras, the way he decided to do this chronologically, um, all of that was very well done directing. Look, Bong Joon Ho could also be here for no other choice. He is a great director who always gets snubbed. But my personal picks would have been Joseph Kaczynski for F1, Jafar Panahi for It Was Just an Accident, Francis Lawrence for The Long Walk, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. My personal pick, I'm going to split it. My personal pick is Ryan Coogler for Sinners, even though my prediction is Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, and I'm fine whichever way this goes. It's well deserved. Best Picture, 10 movies. Um, I could understand why every single one of these movies was nominated, with the exception for Frankenstein. I thought it was a terrible movie. Um, um, I say it in jest. I mean, I did not like that movie, but I know why it was nominated. Your nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, Sinners, The Secret Agent, and Train Dreams. Um, Begonia is just an incredibly well done movie with two amazing leads, and they go at it. And it is a battle of wits. Jesse Plemons versus Emma Stone at the peak of their acting ability in a really engaging, crazy kind of movie um, with an ending that I absolutely love. F1, I was so happy that this movie got nominated for Best Picture because it deserved it. It was, it's so well done on a technical level that you don't even notice it. And it's so exciting. It's high octane. It's such an engaging movie. Um, I didn't even, even the cast, I didn't have it nominated for best casting in my personal picks, but F1 is an international sport. The cast was very international, just an extra flair to it. Just such a good movie. Frankenstein, again, I didn't love it, but a lot of people did. On a technical level, it looks really cool, I guess. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about why Hamnet or Frankenstein or Hamnet, for that matter, should have been definitely nominated for Best Picture because Hamnet, I thought, was emotionally manipulative. Look, it was a very emotional story. It's about Agnes Shakespeare losing her child, and then Shakespeare making a play to deal with the trauma. Come on, of course you're gonna make you cry. Um, we knew what it was. It was the topic is going to make you cry no matter what. Um, I probably need to watch Hamnet again. I just didn't get it. Not my kind of movie. Um, I have my issues. You could go read my review. Marty Supreme, way too chaotic in the middle. Although I did really like the beginning and end. But again, it was a very successful movie. It's a very engaging movie. It makes table tennis out to be like the most exciting thing in the world. Sentimental value, emotional movie about family, about loss, about trauma, how to deal with trauma, and um, it really is the Academy's type of movie. The Secret Agent. I did not like that movie. I thought it was way too bloated, but so much happens in that movie. And there is a really a good amount of tension that's built in that movie. Train Dreams, a movie that is not really my speed, but I did still enjoy. So yeah, even though I maybe don't love movies like Hamnet, like Sentimental Value, I love Train Dreams. That was a good movie, and maybe it's not one of my top 10 movies, but I definitely respect and appreciate that it was nominated for Best Picture because it deserved it. It was such a beautifully done movie. Um, so that brings us to the two movies that really this is a battle of. This is One Battle After Another versus Sinners. They are the two movies of the year. They're different in many ways. They're similar in many ways. They are absolutely. There's a reason that one of them is nominated for 16 Oscars and one of them is nominated for 13. They are that good. And they're absolute masterclasses of filmmaking, of film editing, of cinematography, of directing, of acting, with great performances. Um, and it's tough to say which one's going to win. I think One Battle After Another has been the favorite for so long, and I just feel like the momentum is there for Sinners, and we're going to find out this well before Best Picture's announced. We're going to see how the awards play out. If one of the movies starts sweeping these other awards or getting nominated, winning a lot more, it's going to be their night. We'll know if it's one of their nights early. There is a possibility they split. Um, One Battle After Another is just so much happens in that movie, and Sinners is just such a well put together, kind of straightforward, kind of very original story. I think from when we look back 10 years from now, no matter what, the movie of the year is going to be Sinners. That is going to be the movie of 2025. Is it the best picture of 2025? I don't know, but I have to make a prediction, and I'm predicting Sinners. I think Sinners is going to, in the last days of voting, the last month of voting has got so much momentum. It's going to take out one battle after another. With all that said, my personal top 10 for Best Picture, these slightly not my top 10 movies of the year, but mostly are Begonia, Eternity. I loved Eternity. Great movie, great concept, so well performed, the great cast, great humor. I laughed hysterically. It was so sweet at the end. Um, F1, personally, my favorite movie of the year. Though that does not necessarily mean it is my best picture. Stay tuned. But I loved F1. I smile every time I see that movie. The Long Walk was such a well done, well put together movie. Again, it's 2 hours of people walking, and they made it so engaging. Lost Bus, that was a tense movie from start to finish. The tension was there. It was incredible. It was well done. There was a great performance out of Matthew McConaughey and America Ferrera about a real event that it was gripping my seat the entire time. No Other Choice brought me through a range of insane emotions, from laughing hysterically to crying to being creeped out to being grossed out to you know being emotional. Like No Other Choice was just so well done. Nuremberg. Okay, I could understand that why people thought it was sloppily edited, especially towards the end. It did just kind of rush through some things. But the masterclass of performances, there were so many great performances in this movie. And it was not an easy movie for everybody to watch. I mean, they use real footage. They use 6 minutes of real footage of what they found in concentration camps. It can be rough. I mean, this is about the Nuremberg trials. But to watch Russell Crowe and Rami Malek and Leo Woodall, all these great performances, Michael Shannon just take over. The performance in this movie were so incredible. It was engaging. It was well done. I thought Nuremberg was fantastic. Again, Train Dreams, not one of my personal top 10 movies of the year. Such a superbly done movie. It deserved a Best Picture nomination. It earned one of my Best Picture nominations, even though it's not one of my top 10 favorite movies of the year. It's such a great movie. And then, of course, One Battle After Another and Sinners. I've talked a lot about them. Um, Sinners is my personal pick for Best Picture. Even though F1 is my favorite movie of the year, Sinners is going to be the movie we look back on and remember from this year. It's just so original. It's so well done. Both my pick to win the Academy Award for Best Picture and my personal pick to win Best Picture is Sinners. And there you have it. My thoughts and predictions and personal favorites for the Academy Awards. I'm so looking forward to the Academy Awards this year. I've never really understood them. I always thought it was just a time where pretentious people could tell people that their favorite movies were incorrect and they should like these movies. After seeing so many movies this year, um, I definitely understand it. I definitely understand the power of great performances and great technical ability and how these movies deserve to be not honored and recognized. There's so many great movies that came out in 2025. I hope you got to watch a lot of them. If you have, let me know what you thought about them. If you haven't, hopefully I gave you some great recommendations and spoke highly of some of the movies here. But before I go and get some water, because my mouth is so dry and I'm losing my voice because I just talked for 2 hours. I pulled an Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon and just spoke forever. Um, Basically, I have 5 wins for Sinners, 5 wins for um, One Battle After Another. That's very possible that they split. And I have 3 for Frankenstein, 2 for Weapons, um, and 3 for Frankenstein. And so we'll see who stands out. I'm pretty confident in my picks this year. It's been a fun year either way. I won watching movies in 2025. I hope you got to experience some great movies in 2025. I hope my reviews gave you some great recommendations for movies. And if you are bored and you want to figure out what movie to watch, send me a message. I have a ton of great recommendations. But if you watch the Academy Awards, comment, text me, whatever you know it is, or send me a message. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I love talking movies. And until then, I hope you have some really great movies to watch. I hope you enjoy the Academy Awards as much as I will.